Today, on episode 18 of the Reaper Paranormal Show, we have part 2 of the Cecil Hotel. Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? I am Roy, and we had another great episode for you. But first, as always, I am joined by my co-host, Tom. What do you say, Tom?
Nothing. What's going on, Roy? How are you today, man?
I am good. Good. It's a good day to be alive.
I agree.
All right. So I'm excited for this episode. We have part 2 of the Cecil Hotel. We did part 1 last week. It was a great episode, I thought, anyway. And looking forward to getting into today's episode. You want to just jump right into it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited as well. I just want to, I thought, last week was great. And this one's even better. Now we're getting into the really, really fun stuff. So, yeah.
All the cool stuff, so to speak.
Yeah.
If murder and mayhem can be cool.
Yeah, true.
Morbid, So let's do a quick little recap. And I'm going to do a quick little recap. Jump in if you think anything's prevalent that I don't mention. So the Cecil Hotel was built in 1924 by 3 guys. It cost $100.5 million, $1.5 million. At the beginning, it was a beautiful hotel, marble, stained glass windows, pottery. It was an amazing hotel at the very beginning. Throughout the 40s, and then 5 years after being built, it sank into the Great Depression. So beyond the 40s, it started the decline. And between the decline and the infamous Skid Row being populated with all the homeless people, I believe it's up to 10,000 homeless people at one point in a 4-mile radius. It just sounds insane. Even just saying it.
It is. I won't speak at length like I did last week, but I've been there. It's big and it's sad and it shouldn't be. We shouldn't have this. We're supposed to be. We shouldn't have this many homeless people in the world. It's very sad. Yep. Very sad state of affairs.
Yep, especially in a rich country like ours,
I know, man.
So in 2011, they rebranded the hotel Stay on the Main, which I think is a stupid name, but that's just me. They had their own entrance, separate entrance. They had a separate reception area, but they shared facilities along with elevators. Kind of odd to me. Then in 2014, it was sold to New York Hotelier. I like saying that. Hotelier. Which had bought for $30 million. It was built for $1.5 million. They sold it for $30. That's making your money back, people. Making your money back. So Simon Barron Development then acquired a 99-year ground lease of the property. In 2016, Matt Barron, president of Simon Barron, said he was committed to preserving the historical significance of the building. And then what followed was 2017, the LA City Council finally deemed the hotel an historical cultural monument. That was pretty big, which despite the history, it's pretty historic. Being around that long,
Yeah, I mean, you got to think, okay, so, 1920s, to us, that's 100 years ago. But, I mean, you see how time flies. And in another 50, that's going to be 200. You know what I mean? At some point, that's going to be 200. And at some point, that's going to be 300 years old. And kids are going to be learning this in a classroom, or looking back at history at that time. And I like the idea of having architecture from the different periods throughout. I think it's great. So
when the kids are listening to this podcast 20 years from now and learning, getting the knowledge for two brilliant young minds like ours.
yes,
Or not, I don't know.
yeah.
You poor kids, if you rely on me for knowledge, you're screwed. You're in trouble. So, speaking of knowledge and violence, let's get into some violent history.
Yeah.
So, in January 22nd, 2027, 1927, 2027,
2027.
1927, Christian Ormond Cook shot himself in the head because he couldn't reconcile with his wife and child. Being a paranormal investigator, the energy, man, I'd like to investigate in that room,
Yeah.
Rich, a friend of mine, Rich, he wants to do an investigation where a fresh killing has happened, because he wants to know if, let's say, if you were to die tomorrow, or when you died, does your spirit hang around there for a little while, like maybe in shock, or like, what the hell happened to me?
Yeah.
He has that question of, does the spirit hang around for a bit after they're killed because they don't know what's going on, or do they just leave? And he's like, it'd be cool to be able to. I said, yeah, that'd be cool, but to be going around people that are mourning their relative, you're bumping into them. Excuse me, I have to get some EMF here. That's kind of pushing the line a little bit, I think.
That's tricky. It makes me think about so if just in that scenario, like a fresh kill, if you're around a fresh kill, be interesting to see what happens if those, like, you can measure the energy, somehow in a room. And if you're in that room when somebody passes on, God forbid, you know what I mean? And see what, what would happen to that energy meter, I know there's a difference between potential and kinetic energy and stuff like that, but just to see what would happen in that moment would be pretty interesting.
Well, I've been on cases where we help host a paranormal walk where we've had free flowing energy, which we know doesn't exist when there's no power on. When the power's off, there shouldn't be any energy hanging around. And there was some energy actually moving around, which was amazing because the power was out. There was no power.
Yeah.
There was nothing electrical. I was by myself in a certain area, and when I went to different areas, it would spike up, and then it would slowly drop. As I walked a certain direction, it would spike up again, then it would drop.
Oh.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. I can't explain it. I asked. I was actually on a stage when we were for that walk a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And I asked if there was any electrical stuff under the stage. She said no, and if there was, she had all the lights out. And she had the lights in the back of the room, front of the room, to light the room up.
Yeah.
But the meter hadn't spiked at all the whole time we were there, except for that moment, which was amazing. Because, like, if it went up even a little bit, I would have been like, yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
And we're a team, just so everybody knows, we're a team. If there's any kind of doubt, we just throw the evidence out, because if we get evidence, we don't want somebody to say, well, what if this? If we get evidence, we want people to say, oh, geez, I can't explain that. To me, that's good evidence.
Yes.
If there's any kind of possibility, I don't want to use it,
Agreed.
So, in 1931, we'll get back to this quick little update. W.K. Norton, what a name, died taking poisonous capsules. And I think Shay had a comment about that mostly women, she felt. Which, that makes sense to me. I mean, that's kind of weird.
Throughout history, it's been known, even to this day, but, throughout history, poison was always known as the woman's weapon of choice. It takes, intellect, but it's delicate, and the fact that you're not using, like, a blunt object or even stabbing or shoot, or whatever.
There's no violence there,
Yes.
Unless someone's forcing it down your throat.
Way to go, too. What's that?
Unless somebody's forcing it down your throat.
Yes. And so, I mean, we don't have evidence to that. It's just been reported as that it's a suicide, but you never know. You never ever know. It's great. That's why what I love about Shay. She always brings up this other point of view that that I hadn't thought of yet.
Right.
She thinks
Yeah,
very
she's really
outside the
smart.
box.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, I was very happy when she was willing to join our team because she's amazing.
Yeah.
So then in the 40s and 50s, there were numerous suicides that happened at the Cecil Hotel, and you'll find out the nickname a little later. In 1964, this is Tom's story, retired telemarketer Pigeon Goldie Osgood, known by being well-liked throughout the hotel through her peers and friends, was found dead in her room. She had been raped, stabbed, beaten. Her room was ransacked, and her murder, sadly, has never been solved. That's crazy. For someone that was like that much, if it's something that bad to happen to that person, it makes me wonder if this next person could have done it. Because in the 1980s, the Night Stalker, the infamous Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, stayed at the hotel, and some people think he may have played a role with some of the murders there. And if that's the case, could he have something to do with Mrs. Pigeon there? Yep, possibly.
Yeah, it's never been proven, but it's thought. No, I should clarify. I don't mean about Pigeon Goldie,
right?
That during his stay there, that he was during in one of his sprees, but it's been speculated that he was. So yeah, he very well could have, Yeah,
one of the stories, and again, they're just stories. We can't corroborate it, and maybe he wasn't there. Who knows? But one of the stories is that he was known to walk into the building in his underwear. And because of the degradation and pervs and people that stayed there, no one really batted an eye. It was kind of like, whatever.
I heard that. I had heard the same thing, and that he had a very foul odor to him, which I've heard about him in various points, in stories of his treachery. But I did hear that same thing, walking around in his underwear.
That dude is scary looking. I looked at some of his pictures. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
that's why at the point my mother said, "Don't mess with that white boy. You leave him alone."
Yeah. You stay away from him.
Exactly. So in 1991, Jack Underweger, I don't know if I'm saying that right, supposedly lived there, and he killed at least 3 sex workers, and he ended up getting convicted in Austria because he fled the country, and then he actually had killed women all over the world. Dude was very ambitious, going all over the country killing people. Very ambitious.
Yeah.
And he ended up hanging himself after his conviction. Coward. Most killers, they're cowards.
Yep.
And sure enough, he was a coward.
Yeah, it took the easy way.
Any comments on the recap, Tom?
No, I mean, we touched a little on the Richard Ramirez in the recap there. And you think actually we can just cut that, because did we only had teased Ramirez last week, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So did you have any? I'm assuming that I'm talking as if this is being cut. Did you have any more on Richard Ramirez? Because I really don't.
No, that's all I had.
Yeah, I really don't. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was like, I could go into a deep dive, but I'm like, if that be a good future episode too. If we get something really like Richard Ramirez, we can do a deep dive on him, like per se.
Yeah.
Do a murderer. I didn't even think of that. Do a murderer, and maybe how, if we can get some of the murders and how they happened, maybe how that paranormal wise that could affect the paranormal. I got to an investigation. It might be pretty cool too.
Yeah, that is actually a cool angle to think about. It would be, how we could tie it back in. It's that'd be really cool.
You want me to jump to the TV stuff now, or do you want to do something else first?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You want me to jump into the TV stuff now, or do you want to do something else first?
I can't remember what we had said. Was it the TV or was it the Black? You said TV, then Black
Oh, wait a
Dahlia?
minute. No, was it Black Dahlia, then TV, then the girl from the Netflix series?
Lamb. Okay, so Black Dahlia
Yeah,
next.
Lamb. So, yeah, we'll do Black Dahlia.
Yeah.
Then we'll do TV, and that'll lead into your Lamb story.
Okay, cool.
Now, am I doing Black Dahlia or you?
You were gonna do it, and I'll jump in.
All right.
That for these next, I mean, and same thing with Elisa Lamb. Jump in, you know what I mean. I'll just jump in, and that way.
I'm actually really familiar with the story. I read a lot about this.
Nice.
Yeah, because I wrote a few things down, but yeah. So there's been a big question of whether Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia, actually stayed at the hotel. 100% reports are, LAPD records are that she was never at the hotel. She was never seen there. That's the reports from the police department. And take that for as you will. She was last seen alive at the Millennium, the Bitmore Hotel in January 9th. Not seen again after that.
Yeah. So, and the Millennium Biltmore is not far. This is all in the same sort of area. It's not far from it. And just like you said, there was according to the police, she never was there. There was a rumor, and it went around for years, that she was actually at the bar in the Cecil the night of her murder. That has never been confirmed.
I'm sorry. During my doing my notes, I actually found several articles that actually say she was at the Cecil Hotel, and it's amazing how, if you're not careful, you can easily get the wrong information. I found several articles that said she was there. No,
it's and it just like
reportedly wasn't.
Yeah, we don't know for sure on that, and I
wasn't there, so I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't there either, but she was known, like Roy was saying, she was last seen at the Millennium Biltmore, and she was known to frequent other bars in that area. One, namely, called the Dugout, which is, I believe, just a block away from the Cecil. But sorry, continue.
Well, which is probably why that people think she was at the Cecil Hotel, because everything, she was in that area.
Yeah.
She was at several places, and all the articles that say what we're saying said the same thing. She was in the area. She just has never been reportedly been seen at the Cecil. Her body was found on the 15th of January, and her murder was so brutal. She was chopped up.
Yeah.
I've seen photos. I've actually found photos of it's like, man, whoever the fucker was a real sick individual.
Now, correct me. I have a question. I believe I read, and I might be confusing this. You probably know. Was the blood drained from her body? I thought I had read.
So. I believe there was no blood at all.
Oh, that's some crazy.
Her arms, her neck, her head, totally, holy shit. And she was a local girl too. She's from Massachusetts. So Bastards fucking with a girl from Massachusetts.
Yeah, she dreams of making it big, and it just didn't seem to pan out for her.
Beautiful girl too.
Yeah, she was. Oh yeah, very, very, very beautiful.
Yeah. Goes to show you, be careful out there. People are crazy. All right, so that's the Black Dahlia. So if you ever thought that she was at the Cecil Hotel, nope, she wasn't there.
And I got another question. They've never found her or killer.
Nope.
Did you have any theories?
I tried to figure out who could have done it. I think it was either an ex-boyfriend or someone who was definitely enamored with her, because they went through a lot of trouble to chop her up. there was something going on there.
I've listened to numerous podcasts on her, and I'm not an expert on her. You know much more than I get, but I'm into true crime as well as the paranormal, and I've listened to it. And one of the theories that I believe that I've heard, there's this retired police officer now, and I don't know his name. He's come out public. He believes it was his father, his father was a doctor, also known to frequent that area, talked about maybe had a mistress that was around the same age as Elizabeth Short at that time. And this retired officer is convinced that it's his father. And out of all the ones that I've heard recently, I was like,
that's one of the old theories, was that she was a mistress, and that they think it had to be somebody with doctor-like skills, because the cuts were very precise. Like, they weren't like hacked;
mm-hmm.
They were literally precise. So the person that did it definitely knew what they were doing. So they do speculate that it was either medical personnel or somebody who really knew the medical field.
Yeah, when this guy is convinced, and everything he said, it like timelines and locations sort of lined up, and it was like I mean, out of all the ones I've heard, I'm just saying, in my opinion, that seems the most plausible for her murder, because it seems so crazy to us in this day and age with DNA and everything that like a murder goes unsolved for that long. I mean, I know it happens.
If you're going to be a mistress, don't pick a murderer. That's what I do. Don't pick a murderer. Just
words to live by. Words to live by.
Yeah, just pick some little feeble guy. The guy who couldn't lift a pencil. Then you're all set. That's what I'd do. Might poke you in the eye with his pencil, but other than that, you have to do that.
It's a good point.
Yeah, just a thought. So the Cecil Hotel has been around long enough, so it's been through the ringer on TV. I'm going to go over a few things here. So in 2015, it was on the 5th season of the American Horror Story, loosely based on the Cecil Hotel, which you had told me that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but you had told me that, and I think that's pretty cool, watching that, knowing that it's loosely based on,
Yeah, American Horror Story, it gets super crazy and stuff, so it's very loosely based, but it is.
If you haven't watched American Horror Story, you're missing something.
The spin-off's coming out soon, too, American Horror Stories. Yeah, that should be coming soon. I can't wait.
We should do an episodic review of that show, the spin-off. But in 2017, Investigation Discovery did a 3-part miniseries on the hotel, which I'm like, I might want to check that out. Get a different perspective from other people,
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2018, a horror film that followed used several Cecil Hotel murders murders and suicide cases in their plot. That was a good movie. I actually liked that movie, which I didn't know that either, that they used that. And then in 2021, if you like the paranormal TV shows, guess who investigated Ghost Adventures? They had to go there and get their dirty feet wet. So, of course, they were part of it. So they recorded an episode in 2021. So that's out now, which I might actually check that out still. Even though I can't stand them, I might check it out.
What can I watch them on?
Was that?
What can I watch them on?
I think they're on Discovery. Maybe on Discovery.
All right.
They're on one of the cable networks. I know that.
Oh, okay.
Discovery, not TLC, but it's on one of the networks. I think Discovery. I want to say Discovery, but maybe I'm wrong. If you guys know out there what they're on, comment down below, will you please?
Yeah.
Let us know. And in 2021, the Netflix 4-part docuseries titled Crime Scene, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel, which premiered February 10th, 2021. If you haven't seen this, it's a fascinating story. I remember the videos, the real videos that the police released coming out, not knowing what that was all about, not realizing, what I do now. And it's like, it's so crazy
Yes.
that this happened. But if you haven't watched it, you gotta check it out. And for people who don't know, the hospital, the hotel's reputation was all over the place between the murders, the suicides, the issues, the bankruptcies, all the stuff. And in 2008, two long-time residents, because you got to remember, people lived there.
Yeah.
They actually lived there. That was their home. And some of the residents started calling the place the suicide because of the all the suicides that happened there. And Room Spook tracked the hotel deaths at 13 as of 2008. There were 13 deaths at the hotel, official deaths. Who knows how many since then? Who knows how many that we don't know about?
Mm-hmm.
And the Cecil Hotel, it was a hookup spot. It was huge for drug activity, prostitution. I mean, it had everything there.
Yes.
Everything and everything happened. It was totally insane.
Yeah. It was yeah, and it was. I found this interesting because I didn't know this. I'm a Stanley Kubrick fan, the director Stanley Kubrick. Clockwork Orange, Full Metal Jacket, those movies. It was the inspiration for the movie, the setting in the movie Barton Fink, which
really?
I never. Yep.
Oh.
I didn't know the Cecil was the inspiration for that.
So, find out.
Yeah. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, Tom, you have some Netflix stuff to talk about, don't you?
Well, I have some Reaper Paranormal stuff to talk about that just happens to be on Netflix as well. So you hinted at it. The Netflix dropped their Florida Pot docu series, Crime Scene, and it tells the story of Elisa Lamb. The college student that's body was found on February 19th, 2013. So a little bit about Elisa before I jump in is that she lived in Canada. She was born April 30th, 1991. She is it Vietnam Cantonese? Her birth name was Lam Ho Yi, but she went by Elisa Lam. And she was a student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, but she had wanted to travel from all sort of what we know about her. She seemed like an outgoing girl. She wanted to travel. She wanted to meet new people. She lived very much like the younger generation does online. She was always posting on Instagrams and the Twitters and giving updates. And she seemed like a very nice person that just wanted to travel, meet people, find love. Albeit a little troubled. We found out that she has suffered from bipolar disorder and depression, which she was taking medication for it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But anyway, she was on break from school, so she went down to LA to sort of travel and see the world. And she stayed at the Stay on Main, the Cecil, because it's a cheap sort of transient hotel that she could stay at, and she was in a good location to go. Well, not a great location, but sort of centralized location to get to other places. We mentioned earlier that the Cecil Hotel is right in Skid Row, so there is a lot of lawlessness that goes on down there because, as we said, the homeless population that the city doesn't really want to deal with, and they just, so it can be dangerous at nights. But she was staying there, and sightseeing and updating people on her adventures on the Instagrams and the Twitters, and I'm totally aging myself here because I don't really use any of these. But then she went missing on January 31st of 2013. Sorry, and it wasn't really known that she was missing until February 1st, but the last time she was seen alive was January 31st, 2013. And then her body was found on February 19th. So if you look 2.5 weeks later, in the water, on top of the hotel, there's they had 4 water towers that hold the water that supply it to the rooms for the showers, the toilets, the sinks. They went down to the kitchen, all that. And they had 4 tanks up there, and she was found in one of them, floating face down, and with her clothes floating next to her, dead.
I think she was face up. Wasn't she face up?
Oh, I had read the worker that found her. I had read face down, but it could have been face up.
I thought on the video on the series that they said face up.
Huh. Hey, I mean, maybe my info's wrong.
I don't know. I could be wrong too. I don't know. Well, she was found in there either way.
Yeah.
Face down, face up. She was still dead.
Yeah, decomposing at that point. Bloated.
That water. Do you know that?
Yes. Oh yeah. They brought
on the documentary. They talked to a couple.
Yeah.
Who was drinking the water, and the water's like a tinge color. Why are you drinking that water to begin with?
Well, they said they were brushing their teeth with it, and and they still got
fucking water.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting the brown water. Morons.
Yeah, you know that. Well, I mean, I don't drink out of my tap anyway. But if it's coming brown because of whatever rust or whatever coming out, I'm not brushing my teeth in that water. I'm just not. It happens from time to time here. You get the brown water because it's rust going through.
Yeah, pipes. You're gonna get some sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not brushing my teeth with it. I 100% agree with you there. That's gross. But yeah, that's how they knew to find her up there, actually, because like I said, she had been missing for about 2.5 weeks, and then she was discovered up there. So, and the way she was discovered, people had complained of the weird smell and a weird color to the water, and they got sick, and there has been lawsuits against them. I don't know. I know one was thrown out, but there's been lawsuits against them because, I mean, yeah, that's really, really gross, and actually ties into possibly one of the conspiracy theories, because I've heard some crazy conspiracy theories about what actually happened to her. Like, aside from, some of the more mainstream ones, I've heard some crazy stories that we'll touch on a little bit. But
hold on 1 second, Tom.
Yeah.
Get my dog out again.
Go for it.
I'll be right back in 1 sec.
I'm gonna take a piss. I'm taking a piss anyway.
All right, cool. Well, That was perfect.
What was perfect?
The timing.
Oh, all right. So we were right around the point of the people. Yep. So So that's how they had found the body. Because or knew to look for the body up there because the people had complained about the weird color and smell of the water. So at this point, now it's time to sort of retrace and what happened to Elisa Lamb. And like I said, she had been missing for 2.5 weeks. So in the Netflix series, you can see a lot more. You can actually see the video on there. So we try to retrace her steps. And the last confirmed sighting of her being alive is an elevator cam. And Roy, you've seen this video. Mm-hmm. It's wild. She's acting very sort of disoriented. It seems like somebody is crazy. Yeah, it seems like somebody is following her, or she's nervous that somebody is following her, and she's acting very bizarre on it. She gets on the elevator. She keeps looking out, looking down the hallway. She touches every single floor. My thought would be, because if somebody was following her, this was to confuse them what floor she got off on. And people have wondered, as she touches all these, the door takes forever to close. And that was one of the first things that people started noticing was, well, like, okay, you touch, why is the door not closing like fairly quickly? She touched all these. Well, it turns out when you touch a certain floor, and I forget, and they talk about it in the Netflix series, it actually keeps the door open a little bit longer. So in touching all of them, she unintentionally touched the one floor that it makes it stay open longer. So anyway, she's in there, she's looking out, and her behavior is bizarre. What were your thoughts, Roy?
That she was mentally ill.
Mentally, that was your first thought?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, because my thought is, she would be to follow. Someone would have seen that. You would hope, and said something. But again, where they were, maybe not. But she looked like she wasn't normal. And I'm not saying I know for sure that's what was the case. There was just purely speculation at that point. It just didn't make sense, things she was doing. And like the way she was turning her wrists, and she's just acting very odd. I thought she was either mentally ill or she was high on something, or both.
My initial thought was some sort of hallucinogen, like mushrooms, LSD, a DMT type of.
Spike something. You never know, especially in that hotel. She's down in the lobby at a bar or something down there. That place, I'd be watching my drink like a hawk.
Yeah. That was one of my first thoughts. Or she could have even just took it recreationally, like people do. I used to, take mushrooms and all that for fun. Now I'm just an old man, but I was young one time too.
Oh man.
So sorry, something popped up on my screen for no reason. Oh shit. All right. So she was, I my initial thought was hallucinogens. Then as I learned more that she's, that, like I mentioned, that she suffers, from bipolar disorder and depression and anxiety. Maybe she was off her meds, and possibly she has a tinge of schizophrenia in there. And with schizophrenia, hallucinations do happen. Not always, but can happen. So it's that's where my mind went. Okay, if it's not that, maybe it's that, because it's really, I don't know how else to explain it. If you're listening out there, you should definitely seek out this video just to see for yourself, because I'm not doing it any justice here. She acts very strange, and that's the last time that she's seen alive anywhere or any point. Now they brought, the police were in there. They brought dogs, and because the next step was, how did she get to the roof from there? Like, it's not easy to get to the roof, and then once she was on the roof, how did she get into the tank? So there's a lot of things. So they brought, they had dogs in there, and they did find her scent by a window that sort of led out to, escape that you could, scale up. But I wouldn't do that. That looks scary as hell, unless, maybe she was being chased, which we'll touch more on in a little bit. Or there was a way through the, going up through a security door, but no alarm was ever registered going off that we know of. That anybody knows of, the alarm was never triggered for that door, and it's supposed to happen every time. Now, I've heard other people say, maybe it wasn't working, or they don't always work all the time. So,
especially in that place.
Yeah, exactly. That seems a little more plausible to me, that she somehow got out without tripping the alarm. Maybe it just was not functioning correctly. But you never know. Could have been the other way. It just, that other way, you kind of like scaling up the side of a building at one point, and that's pretty scary to me. Especially,
that.
Yeah, especially if it was like a hallucinogen or something. Yeah, I wouldn't want to. And then, so they've never really reconciled 100% which way she got onto the roof. And then from there was able to, it ended up in the water tower itself. There was reports initially that, and it turned out to be a rumor, that the lid was closed on the water tower too. So people were like, well, how could she have closed it herself, but that was not true. Apparently the worker that found her said the lid was actually open. So, but how she got it?
Question, how did they not find her the first time?
With that?
Which poses the question, how did they not find her the first time they were up there?
Did they look but they didn't look in the actual water towers, did
exactly.
they? Yeah.
Nope, and they should have. That should have been one of the first things they'd done.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? The dogs let them up there for a reason.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, people. And they caught the mistake of saying that it was actually closed when it was actually open the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of weird things, like the jump in the elevator in the video.
Yeah, it's edited.
Yeah, you can see that in the video. And I didn't notice right away. I know some people did right away, that you can see the way the elevator door closes. There's a jump in the video where it's like, what they say, a couple seconds were taken out of the video.
Yeah, so why would they edit that? Like, what was the purpose of that?
Yeah, and there's been, people think that the police edited it, and then, or people thought that maybe the hotel edited it. And they have the manager of the hotel at that time on the Netflix series, and she said she didn't. But it's definitely been edited. So how did she end up in there? And did she just go out there on her own, and then was either was it drugs or a psychotic sort of break, and she went up there and then just wanted to jump in the water for whatever reason, just to, or did somebody, push her in, or did somebody kill her and then put her in? I mean, how did she do it? I've heard a lot of theories. What was
she in there? They had to be a big, strong person.
Yeah.
That they would have had to carry her up the ladder or drag her up the ladder. And either way, that's a lot of work.
What was she running from? Because clearly she thinks what was it? And now I
heard, real or fake. She was running from something.
Now I've heard multiple theories. The from the coroner report, it is accidental death and brought in by her bipolar disorder played a major role in it. Essentially, is what the coroner's report is. So it's accidental suicide. A lot of people aren't happy with this. I'm one of them. There's a lot of theories that she was running from him. Now, have you heard any theories or crazy theories, or do you have your own?
I haven't heard anything. I find it crazy that people don't think bipolar that could just killed her. Because a lot of people don't believe that, and I don't know why they don't believe it. Because that's a real good explanation. I'm not saying that is the explanation, but that's a really good one. Because bipolar disease,
it's tough. People,
it can make you crazy.
Yeah, people
things.
People want to discount mental diseases of the brain because we don't understand them so much, and it's not. You take medicine, but it's not your typical type of medicine.
We understand a lot more than people think, though. I agree.
I agree, but I think there's still a stigma. A lot of people don't. There's a stigma to it, and I don't know why, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, I suffer from my own things.
I think me personally, I think people want there to be a big mystery about some things, and I'm not saying there isn't a mystery about this because I just don't know. But I think some people they just want there to be a mystery for whatever reason. I think they just want, like say it's bipolar just makes it open and shut. It's too simple,
Yeah,
that's one thing I do agree with. It's just too simple, But again, that happens.
Yep, Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is the right explanation.
Usually, yep.
That's Occam's razor. But so I have heard some crazy theories, and some, more just based in what sort of happened. So I've heard that either a bipolar or a drug induced, and then she went up there and. She either fell in or went to jump in, and because whatever state of mind she was in, either chemically or non-chemically, and bad things happened. But I also have heard some crazy theories as far because the elevator video is so bizarre, and that's what gets people so hung up on the mystery. You got to say that's sort of what everybody's interest is, because why is she acting like that on it? And now I've heard that she is being followed, and the fact that those seconds were taken out of the video where you can see there's at least that jump where the door, and there may be other jumps in the video that somebody was following her and they cut it out. For whatever reason, I've heard the cops cut it out because maybe it was one of them. Now, these are all theories. I'm not saying I believe them.
One of their kids, you know what I mean? It could be in,
Yeah.
Don't trust the cops sometimes. I mean, I believe in the cops personally, but
yeah, sometimes,
not all cops are good, not all cops are bad,
Yeah, exactly. They're people. So,
yep.
So I've heard that. So that was the cut in the video. Now I've heard this one I really like. I heard this even on a podcast, and it's a very reputable podcast. So this one's gained some traction and some sort of offshoots. One was mind control, that she was the government did mind control. I didn't see much evidence for it, but another one.
Don't watch that podcast.
On the tuberculosis one, but another one is that. So she was a student in college, and somehow there was a rumor going around that she was tied to this company that did experimental technology based out of Canada. I don't know if she had maybe liked one of their pages or something, but somehow this rumor got some traction, and that she was affiliated with this company. And one of the things that this company worked on, they worked on different types of technologies for the government and tried to sell them to the government. And one of the things they worked on was a cloaking device that essentially made people.
Yeah, that's not true.
Invisible.
100% not true.
And they're going to sell this to the military. And so if you're looking at somebody face on,
Yeah.
because of the way they have this cloak they put over them, the way it hits the light and the way it hits your eyes, you can't see it from the face on. You could see it from like an angle, sort of, but face on, you would look sort of invisible, and that's why we can't see them on the camera, because they were.
Cloaking wouldn't surprise me. That our government is up to some shady stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's stuff that we don't even understand.
Oh yeah.
But it's like there's some little Chinese, Asian, Canadian girls involved in it. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's
because it was. That'd be a fucking awesome story.
Yeah, I had to bring it up because I heard it, and it was like one of those ones that I was just like, wow.
Oh my god! That was true. That'd be the greatest thing in history.
Yeah. And then
spy.
One final conspiracy that I'll touch on is that so around this time there was a tuberculosis outbreak in LA, and there is a tuberculosis test that I think was created in a lab in Canada, and the name of the test is called Elisa Lam. So, and this test's been around, it turns out, years before, but there was a TB outbreak, and there was some conspiracy theorists thought that possibly she was infected by someone, some clandestine group, I don't know, with tuberculosis, then put it in there to see if tuberculosis, what would happen if you put tuberculosis in the water supply. And, because it went through the water and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that was a conspiracy theory that and there was an outbreak around that time in LA or somewhere near there. Now, most have discounted it, but it did gain traction. I believe they may even briefly brought that up on the Netflix series about the TB conspiracy, just because of the outbreak. So the conspiracy had a little bit of legs. So yeah, those are the sort of theories I've heard for her death. Now, we'll probably never know, unfortunately. Yeah. I hope we do. I really do. I'd like to see a resolution to it, and maybe for as a person that's into the paranormal, maybe it would be good for her soul as well, or whatever we leave after we pass on, that this case is resolved.
The problem is you have that video that was doctored. Who and why did they doctor that video, the elevator footage?
Yeah.
There was almost no reason to do that. You could have done a million other things to easier fix. Let's say if it was a person that you're trying to hide. There's a million other ways you can do it that they're a little more obvious, but you're not going to know who it is.
Yeah.
And then, for whoever did it to think that, well, let's just cut this out, no one's going to notice, you're a fucking moron.
Yeah.
Somebody was going to notice it.
Yeah.
I even noticed it.
Yeah. I know you said it. You said it to me when you saw it. You were like, yeah, I noticed that right away. I did. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to lie. I'm not like the most astute when it comes to noticing things. So I did not until it was pointed out to me.
I wouldn't know. It comes from practicing editing things, Like, I've edited some of my videos before.
That's true.
It's like, and watching documentaries, I've seen things where they talk about, like, when you cut something, if you don't do it right, it's not smooth and it jumps. So when I saw that, I'm like, why did that jump? That shouldn't have jumped like that. Did the elevator move and made that thing jump? Like, there's definitely a jump there.
Yeah.
And then the timestamp is different.
Oh yeah. Once they pointed it out, it's so obvious. Yeah. Once I saw it was pointed out to me, it was just like, Yeah, that's like I was kind of shocked. I did not pick up on it at all.
Well, you don't think about it at the time unless you notice something weird happening. Because that's what I did. I was like, then I actually went back to that episode. And I'm like, wait a minute, let me go check something. I think there was a timestamp on the bottom. And sure enough, I was like, yep, motherfucker, somebody edited this. And at first I thought that was the hotel. I'm like, they're fucking hiding something.
Yeah.
You know, they're skeevy. I don't trust that blonde woman. They're hiding something.
Yeah, she's I'm not, don't be a disparager. The way she came across in the docuseries was very strange.
White trash.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, not at all.
I dated girls who were white trash. They were some of the best people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
You know? And when I mean by white trash, I just mean people that God damn it, my video went large again. I just mean like, you know, like not the richest people in the world. It's like black people in the ghetto, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're from the ghetto doesn't mean you're a bad person.
No, and any white person is lying if they say that they're not a little white trash. We're all a little white trash. All of us. So, but what's that?
I'm not.
Well. But yeah, so I mean that to me makes the most sense. I mean, depending on like why did they edit the video? That and if we're looking at this as a paranormal team, I mean that's the one that makes the most sense so far as grounded in reality, following facts that we actually know, not facts that we think, but stuff that we actually know. So, right. Yeah, I mean, it's a wild story, man. It's a wild story, and this is a wild hotel. I hope someday we do get out there and do some sort of investigation on this property. I think that would be a lot of fun. There's a lot of history here. Like you always say, there's got to be a lot of energy.
I think I know what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When you touch the middle of a mouse, it enlarges things.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm having a lot of editing on this thing. It's almost an hour long. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we stopped in a bunch of different places. So, yeah. And you know.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a lot shorter when
yeah. And you can and I'm sure you're gonna be able to cut out a lot. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have on it.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story.
Yes. So check out the Netflix special. It was a really, really good special. You know, I feel bad for the poor girl. I hope they, like Tom says, they solve her murder because God, she deserves it. Mm-hmm. Ridiculous. And whoever cut up that video, you're a dink. You're a moron. You know. So on that note, thank you for listening to our episode today. We greatly appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, make sure you follow us. iTunes has changed the way they have people sign up for podcasts now. So instead of subscribing, you follow now. So make sure you follow us so you stay up to date on iTunes. And if you want, just go to our website. It is www.podpage.com/The Reaper Paranormal Show. All our episodes are there. You can subscribe to any of the podcatchers that are there. And you can follow us and stay up to date for all the cool stuff. Or you can watch our videos on YouTube and look at our beautiful mugs. So, and it's on YouTube video for the Reaper Paranormal Show is unedited. So you get all the ridiculous, crazy, unedited crap that we do and talk about when we edit stuff out on the podcast. So check it out, people. So thank you for listening. For Tom and myself, you guys have a great weekend.